Let's get some music here. Hello, Danville. Alan Chills here, Chief of Police for the town, and we are 10-8 and in service, which means we're here to make people's lives better. And as the police department, we do that by safeguarding the lives, rights, and property of the people we serve. Thank you for joining us. This is a live show, so if you have questions during the show, throw them in the chat. We're watching both YouTube and Facebook, and we'll respond to them either live on air, or if I can't answer it live on air, we'll get to it in the chat later, but you will get an answer to your questions. Thank you again for joining us. We're going to cover some of our topics. I did have someone that gave me an email last week and said the videos that I showed last week, because there were other people in the videos, it was hard to tell who was the suspect, who was the victim. So we're going to play a couple of them over again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark them. So stay tuned for that. And then we're going to talk about some distraction thefts and some other things that have happened over the last week. As always, our evergreen content, the FEMA All Hazards Checklist, please download that. That'll help provide you information on what to do on those very low frequency but high risk events. And this will help you be prepared for a wildfire and a lot of events. Believe it or not, there's a coronavirus or novel coronavirus event in there as well, you know, a pandemic sort of event. So look in that, it'll help you be prepared. Also, in order to know what's happening, you want to sign up for our community warning system. That's through the sheriff's office, and there is a link in the description for that. Also, download the Wildfire Preparedness and Evacuation Guide. It'll give you tips, how to have a plan, how to be ready, and make sure that you are ready. Also, if you want to come join us, we're going to be down at the Starbucks in Rose Garden next Thursday, August 31st, between 8:30 and 9:30. It's a great chance. If you've dropped the kiddos off at school, you can stop by and come say hi to us. That's at 7:30 Camino Ramon, so we will be there. We did have some questions, and the concern was, you know, hey, my power's out. You know, how long is it going to be out for? Where do we get information about it? What should I do to prepare? The preparation side is really tough. And people ask that when we do our sections on emergency preparedness, and they wonder, what is it that I need to do for my specific house to be prepared? And it's a really hard thing to answer because it's going to be unique to you. And so what we'll say is, when you're considering what to do, you have to consider your unique circumstance. But I want to give you kind of some high level things to think about and some information. So let's look at this. If the power goes out at your house, how do you check to see the extent of the outage? You can go to the PG&E website, and let me say this. PG&E has done very well at providing these updates. And we had the power go out. In fact, this one shows some power out in my neighborhood. And the picture that we just had up, and I'll show it again. But it was very nice to be able to go to their website, see the area that was out. They can tell you when a crew's anticipated to be on scene, when the power is expected to come back on. And if there's an update, they'll change and it'll evolve. So you can get really good updates. Nobody likes the power going out, but at least if we know how long it's going to be out for, what we need to prepare for, we can adjust our lives accordingly. The big thing is make sure that you're safe. I squirrel away a bunch of flashlights. I've got a lot of batteries, and I make sure that I'm good. On the refrigerator, we do say keep the freezer closed. If food is out for about 6 hours, you can consider it to be bad. So if you know that it's going to be more than an hour or so, you might want to consider getting a cooler with some ice. What I use is a small 2,000 watt generator, and I just pull that thing. I plug my fridge in. And usually what I do with that, and this is just a personal thing, everybody has their own way, but I'll plug my fridge in right up until nighttime. So about 9 o'clock, and then I'll shut down the generator, shut down all that stuff. So I'm not keeping the neighbors awake. And then in the morning, if it's still out, the power, then I'll fire it back up and put it in, because I know overnight, unless one of my kids is getting up for a midnight snack, that door is going to stay closed. So I know my food will be good overnight. So come up with a good plan for that. The unplug your electronics, I had totally forgot about this, but you do want to unplug them, because when the power comes back on, there could be a surge, and it will be kind of what they call dirty power, and it'll has a potential to ruin some of your devices. Some of your higher end devices, computers, televisions, things like that, you might want to make sure they're on a surge protector, so that if the power goes off and back on while you're not at home, it'll be safe. Have provisions so that either in the winter or the summer that you're staying warm or cold. And that may be something as simple as a small space heater that you're hooking up to your generator. It could be just making sure you button up your house and that you've got blankets and such so that your house doesn't give off all of the cool in the summertime or all the heat during the wintertime. Stay connected to the PG&E website. The backup power source, well, I'll talk about that when I go back to the camera here. Charge essential devices. Make sure you have emergency supplies for food. Stay hydrated and connect with your neighbors and community. Those last tips are probably the most important. Stay connected with your community. Make sure you're looking after your neighbors. Really help each other out, right? On the charging essential devices, I know it sounds a little silly. Well, the power's out. Now what? One thing is when you have your devices, don't let them get to like 10% or 5%. I always try to keep mine above 50% charge. So if my phone is dropping down, I'll plug it in. My iPad, if I have to go to a friend's house and plug something in, I'll do it. Typically, I can just go off that little generator I have, and I can put one plug out there for my family. And it's usually one of those that has all those little USB chargers on it. And we get all of our phones up, iPads, the kids' computers for school so they can go to school in the morning. Everything like that is taken care of. And between that, the lights, I'm good. Now I talk about emergency supplies like food. The one that we tend to miss is medicine. If you've got medicine that needs to stay cold, you need to come up with a backup plan, and maybe even a backup plan for that on how you're going to keep that cold. And it could be having an electric generator to a small fridge. So basically a battery to a small fridge, whatever it is, but you have to have a plan for that. You could also maybe start at a secondary location if you've got a friend that lives in another city or a family member that lives in another city. And maybe your backup plan for the power going out is you button up your house and you go to your brother's house, your sister's house, your aunt, uncle that lives in Pleasanton or Walnut Creek, right? The likelihood of having a full county shutdown of power is usually low. We haven't really seen those. And so you could just have a backup plan that is, I'm just going to go to another house and bug out and do that. All right. Any questions? Again, this is a live show. Throw them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them live during the show. Crime, communitycrimemap.com. You can go there and you can get updates direct. We upload there several times a day, so there's lots of good information there for you. Last week, we've talked about this before, but there were no written collision reports. And I do want to talk about that because there were actually 5 collisions that occurred. But on the show, I'll report the number of collisions, but that doesn't mean that that's all of the collisions. And I want to show you something from our annual report. So you can always go to the Chiefs page. You can download this report right here, and you can download like 6 years worth of these. Now in there, I will always give the council 2 different report numbers. So if you look at it, the first one is going to have to see if it's getting up there. So the first one, if you look at the top line, that's actually going to be the blue line is the number of total reports. So if you call in and tell us, we document that. The yellow is the total number of reports that we write. And the difference being, if it's a report that we write, it's usually an injury collision, a disputed cause. So 2 people hit each other. They both think it's the other person's fault, but there's some reason for us to write it. A hit and run, maybe there's a crime like DUI associated with it, something. Many times we'll go out and it's a simple, we know who did it. Everybody agrees, they exchange information, and we document it. We don't write a report on those, but it doesn't mean that it's not useful data. That's important to us. So when we are analyzing data and we're determining where collisions are occurring, what the causes of those collisions are, we're looking at all collisions. And so that tells us where we need to do enforcement, maybe where we need to implement different engineering solutions. And so we do view all that data. So even though there may be technically a week of no collision reports, it doesn't mean that there weren't collisions that occurred, and it doesn't mean that we're not looking at that. Okay, crime for April 14 through 20th, 2023. We had 4 thefts for the week. No violent crime. That's a good one. On the 15th, we had a shoplift of eyeglasses from a business on Harts Avenue. Now, I don't have the video, but I'll talk about that one after I pull the slide. On the 17th, we had a theft of property from a locked vehicle. So kudos to the owner for locking the vehicle. On the 18th, we had a theft of a credit card from a lady's wallet while at Marshall's on Foster Way, and I'll talk a little bit more about that one too. And then on the 19th, we had a theft of property from an unlocked car on Squirrel Ridge Way, and that was a car that was parked in the driveway. All right, the eyeglasses. So this one was interesting because we talked about distraction thefts last week. I'm going to show a couple more videos again this week. In this particular case, they the person went in, and while they're in there looking at the glasses, the shop owner got a call, and it sounded like the person calling on the phone was basically asking questions that amounted to nothing, just distraction level questions. And that's when the person in the store committed the theft and left. Now, the Costco one, this is another one of those kind of close and personal ones where the lady almost had her wallet stolen. The wallet falls to the ground, and while it's being picked up, the thieves take a credit card from the wallet. So lots of trickery, lots of things that are going on with that, and we really want to make sure that you're being careful for that. All right. So we did just start school. We had a good question from Eric, who's a regular viewer on the show, and he emailed a pretty long question and maybe had some suggestions as well. Now that we've started school, I wanted to cover it, and I also solicited information from the district, and that way I could give a response of what to do from the police department side and the district side. And the question really centered around, what happens about bullying, fighting, and those things either on or off school. And what Eric asked was, what should community members, parents, what should be done if you see a fight, signs of bullying, or in this very specific case, it was actually a video that was going around to different high school students, and it showed some boys jumping another boy, and the misspelling, and they didn't know who it was. And so the question is, what do? You have information. What is it that we, as good community members, what should we do? And I think the first level really is when it comes to schools is we really want to advise the school. And so Alana Samuels over at the school district said, just make sure to report it to the school, share the video with the school. The school will do an investigation. If the investigation is spurred by a parent, they will try to reach a resolution to their satisfaction, and they have remedies beyond that as well. And even if this is an off-campus thing, you can actually let the school know, because what will be helpful is now you've got these 2 students or maybe more, and they're on campus. It's helpful for the school to know, because then they can know to pay special attention, maybe make some special accommodations, and kind of ease the students back into, being close to one another, maybe keep them separate for a while. And I thought that was a pretty great solution. And I, not being in the school world from an administrator standpoint, I thought that was a pretty good idea, because when we do our run, hide, fight, or avoid, deny, defend, when we do our active threat training, one of the things that I'm always trying to imprint on the people that we're giving the training to, whether it's a business or a school, is it's their attention to small things, keeping people included, not excluding people or casting them out, but letting them recover from these small events really helps reduce these incidents. When we evaluate these incidents where people do really bad things, it's often because they feel that they've been cast to the side. And so the school district taking a very proactive approach for something that didn't even occur on campus and saying, hey, we want to make sure that the students are welcomed back and that they stay separated and that they can get back into the feel of being included and in this environment in the school. I thought that was pretty amazing. The other thing is Eric actually pointed out that the district has this bullying, harassment, and discrimination form. It's a district form. You can fill it out. It provides a basis of information for the district to start an investigation, and then the district will continue the investigation. Well, what about the police? Is there a police role in this? Certainly. For us, if there is a report of a battery, we will have an officer go out and investigate. Now, does that mean every time there's a fight between 2 kids, the cops are called out and the cops get involved? No. I'm a parent. I've got 3 boys. Sometimes boys get a little rough, and my boys have been in fights, and we've never called the cops on it. Parents get together, we reach a resolution, and we're good. So I get that not every time there's a fight between 2 young people, cops are called, and sometimes fights between adults, the cops aren't even called. The issue is, if you call us, we will come and investigate. That is one of our mandatory reports. We will always come out and investigate those. All right, I'm checking the chat real quick before we move on to the next, just to make sure there is no additional questions. All right, I don't see any, so we're going to move on. So I appreciate Kim for letting me know that it was difficult to make out the videos. And I'll be honest, I'm not good at manipulating the videos and putting arrows and those sort of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a slide up, identify what I want you to look at, and then we'll shoot to the video. So first off, we're going to look at that one that was inside the Costco. And this is the one where the suspect goes up, actually unzips the lady's purse because she's clutching it under her arms. So she unzips the purse and then she reaches in and takes it. And what you'll see her do is she'll use clothes draped over her arm as cover. So the clothes are blocking what people could see. And so let's take a look at what we're looking at here. All right, the two circles. The circle on the left with the lady with the hood, that is our victim. She has her purse over her shoulder underneath her arm. The person on the right, it's the black hat with the white piece on the top. That is the suspect in this one. So let's take a look at this video and see what we see. All right. So again, notice how the suspect, the black hat with the white, she's taking those clothes, draping her over her hand. She's looking around, but she's now going to hyper focus on our suspect. And watch what happens when our suspect takes a quick step back. Boom. Our suspect was really paying close attention and moved out of the way. And if our suspect was looking at clothes or a rack, there's no way she would have seen that. So that should be an indicator, if you're aware, that should be an indicator that someone is paying very close attention to you. Draping the clothes over the hand like that, not putting them in a cart. I shop at Costco all the time. I don't do that with clothes. So now she's reaching in, she's unzipping the purse, reaching in. She's using those clothes to block her view. I don't know that anyone would have seen what just happened. In fact, if you look, there was that one lady that was walking right by. Let's play the end of that again because I want you to see this. So right here at the end, I'm going to fast forward. There's a lady that's going to walk by right after it happens. And you can see with how guarded our suspect was, the lady with the dark hair and the white sweater on never had a chance to see that pickpocket take place. That is how skilled they are. So that's an incredible shot of how good these pickpockets can be. All right. Next, I'm going to show you this is the purse theft from the parking lot. And this really is to show you how quick and easy it is for a thief to identify a target, break into the car. And this one, they just had to open the door and steal something without anyone seeing it. And so remember, when we talk about crime, there's three things that have to be there. The first is the motivated offender, hardest thing to find, right? We don't know where they are. There is no way to really tell when someone is about to strike. It's really, really difficult. It's hard to spot. We have to look for behavior cues, and that's what I'm going to show you here. The other is the other two legs are the site or location. That would be the parking lot. Now, this is actually a pretty good parking lot. This has a lot of what we call natural surveillance. When you look at the parking lot, what I want you to see is you're going to see this parking lot. There's not like trees that are really low cut. There's not bushes that are really tall that people can hide behind. It's simply the vehicles themselves. And if you look, the circle on the right is a white Dodge Challenger. The circle on the left is our victim plus her silver car. And you can see, what you'll see is how quickly this goes down. But I want you to watch the behavior. The third thing that we know that is solely under our control is our behavior. What are we doing to make ourselves or present ourselves like less of a victim? And again, not victim shaming, because we should be able to leave our purse, our backpack on our front seat. We should be able to leave our doors unlocked, walk where we want to go where we want to go. I'm just using this as a good illustration of what we can do to maybe better prevent from being a victim. All right, let's take a look at the video. All right, so if you look in that upper right-hand corner, you'll see the Dodge Challenger come down the stall, go right past our victim who's unloading her groceries. And then you'll see the victim or the suspect vehicle stop. And then the car is going to back up. And as it's backing up, watch what it does. It doesn't actually even go straight into a stall. It kind of goes in between a couple of stalls. So it doesn't even make a good attempt at parking. And then as soon as our victim takes her cart and it's only 4 stalls, takes her cart and goes back to park the cart. Now you can see the suspect comes out. He's kind of half low crawling there. He's ducking down. And if you're looking in the parking lot, most people are very deliberate in what they're doing. They're not, he looks sneaky. He looks like he's ducking down. And that's all the time it took for him to grab that purse, get back in the Challenger, and be on their way. So it really doesn't take much time at all. It's very quick, very easy, and off they go with the goods. And then she ends up at a loss for what she's supposed to do. But you could see it just didn't take very much time for them to come in, get out of their car and go. But if we're looking at behavior cues, everyone else in that parking lot is pushing a cart, going to their car. They're driving, looking for a spot, parking, getting out of their car, going to the store. So if we see things like people park and not get out of their car, especially if there's multiple people in the car, right? Because you got a getaway driver and you've got the crook. If they're just sitting there and they're just watching, that's an indicator, right? May indicate that they're just sitting there waiting for someone else, but it's also maybe an indication that they're looking to commit some sort of crime. Backing into a stall. I back into every stall I do. I prefer that. That way, if I'm leaving, there's more unpredictable things outside of a stall than inside of a stall. Once I clear a stall and I back in, I'm good. So I do that. It's not an indicator that I'm doing some crime, but in this case, they actually backed into 2 stalls and stopped. That should look a little fishy. Someone that gets out and basically ducks down and is looking around, that should be suspicious. So all of those little things, maybe on their own, don't amount to much. But and that's a good parking lot, if in a good parking like that, where you've got good natural surveillance, if our heads are up a little bit more and we're looking around, maybe we'll spot that behavior. What's the other thing? What was the offender going for? The backpack, the purse, the wallet, the phone. Believe it or not, my wife and I got into my son's car the other day. He left his keys inside the car, and it wasn't even parked in the garage. And we always tell him, don't leave your keys in the car. Most cars that are stolen today, it's because the keys are inside the car. And so take anything that looks like it's valuable or that could be stolen and put it in a safe place. Our recommendation is if you have a purse, put it in the trunk, lock it up, lock your car, return the car, and come back. I admitted last week, I don't always lock my car, but I'll usually carry my backpack with me. The other is with your wallet, if you can just maybe carry just the phone, that's a win. Anything you can do to avoid giving the appearance of a victim would be the way to go. All right. Okay, so I think that covers the content for today. I just want to throw this map up one more time for those that may be checking in late. What to do when your power goes out. I think we've had a couple of these lately, and it goes right into our all hazards, our preparedness, and what we want to do. And that is, please use these small power outages that go for a day, maybe 12 hours. Use those as a springboard to say, hey, I need to be prepared, because if something really major happens, if a big fire happens, if an earthquake happens, if something that puts us in our home for 72 hours without any power, without any water, what if it's a week? What if it's 2 weeks? I remember back in the Vacaville fires when we'd go up there, and we were there for several weeks, and PG&E was working with hundreds of staff members just to restore power. So it could be a while. And if you're not prepared for it, it's going to be very rough. And so have a backup plan and a backup plan for your backup plan. And if you've got special needs, if you've got, if you've got medicine, if you've got mobility needs, you really want to take care of those. We did have a question, I think it was last week. A lady had called and asked, and she said, if my power goes out, do I call 911 so you'll open my garage and I can get out of my garage? Well, if there's a significant hazard going on, we're going to handle things based on priority, and it's going to be life priority first, and then we'll go down to property second. And it's going to be very hard. If you're trapped in your home, certainly we're going to come out, but we're not going to come out for a garage door when we've got, buildings on fire and other things that are going to take priority. And so what we've talked about in the past is if you can't do the emergency release on your garage and open your garage door, it might be worth considering just leaving your car parked outside all the time. Another alternative is you can get a newer garage door opener with a battery backup. So I've got one of those. It's a good battery backup, and I can raise and lower my garage several times during a power outage. And in fact, I think it was my son thought the power had been returned just because the garage door went up. Our garage door acted as though there was no power outage. So really consider your unique circumstance, realize what we can and can't do, and be prepared. The other thing is, if the power goes out, and we talked about this last week too, if the power goes out, I need everyone to really focus on the traffic lights. They're going to go dark, right? They'll last for a little while on battery, but if it's 12, 24 hours, they're going to go dark. You have to treat a flashing red light or no light as a stop sign. And so really be careful. That's the potential to have some really bad injuries. I wish I had the staff to do it, but I don't. I don't have the staff to go to every single traffic signal light and do the old whistle and direct traffic, come this way, go that way. I just don't have the staff for it. And again, if my priorities are going to be life priority first on down, I'm going to have to answer those 911 calls first before we do anything with the traffic signal light that's out. All right. Mike G, I appreciate it. Great compliment. Mike on YouTube says, thanks for the information and another great presentation. It's a shame more Bay Area chiefs don't do this. Mike, that is a very nice compliment. This is one of those things, frankly, it's a Sheriff Danville sort of thing. Danville provides a large amount of discretionary time. And the reason I have the time to do this, the reason that we have the time to go out and do the outreach in the community is because we are, one, well supported by the town council. The town manager has managed the finances for this community phenomenally well for 30 plus years. And we've got a group of volunteers that come in here. We only have 30 cops here. We have about 25 to 30 volunteers. It fluctuates over time. They come here, they donate time for free. And when they're standing up programs like Cop Cars to the Community, the Vacation House Check program, and they're holding all of that down, it provides our officers, our chief, a little bit more discretionary time where we can go and we can do that reach out into the community. And if you ever asked any administrator, any police administrator anywhere, do you want to spend most of your time responding to calls or being proactive in preventing crime? We're always right here. If I could I want no less than 80% here and 20% here. Right. And if I can, the higher I can get that, the better off I am. And so frankly, it's due to the community at large and the support that we get. And then, our town council, town manager, and our volunteers. So Mike, I appreciate that. That's a very nice compliment. All right. So as always, we want to cover our evergreen, but I do want to see all of you in person. So if you want, come out, Coffee with the Cops. We're going to be out Thursday, August 31st. We're going to be 8:30 to 9:30. And we're going to be at the Rose Garden Starbucks. That's at 730 Camino Ramon. And I don't know why this is so crazy, but our staff is super excited because Starbucks is actually going to let them take the coffee and deliver it out to the people. So they get to actually serve the coffee. Pretty crazy, but I think when service is in your blood, it doesn't matter if it's professional law enforcement services or a cup of coffee. Cops just want to serve. So they're jazzed about that. So come out and hang out with us there. And then also, if you can, download that FEMA All Hazards Guide and print it out, put it in the drawer, and then follow it up with signing up, opting in for our community warning system, and downloading our Contra Costa County Wildfire Preparedness Guide. All right, that's all I've got, Danville. I'm 10:10, which means I'm off duty, but we're always 10:8 in service to all of you. Have a good night.